Did you know that there are certain foods that you are likely to be eating that have the potential to kill you? In this video, we are going through some foods that you must be extremely careful with, as they pose an intense danger to your health in terms of food poisoning and even death. Some of the entries on today's list are bound to amaze you. Stick around to the end of this video for our #1 pick, because you may already be in danger of its deadliness. Let us start today's list with a very familiar face in number 15, red kidney beans. Legumes in general are extremely healthy sources of protein. However, they are usually connected to numerous cases of food poisoning, and red kidney beans are at the head of the table. Red kidney beans contain an excessive amount of a compound called lectins. When eaten raw, these lectins can enter the bloodstream and become toxic to the human body, and it gets worse. When undercooked, the toxicity levels of lectins in red kidney beans are spiked even higher than when raw. Within a few hours of ingestion, victims may start to experience extreme nausea, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. Who could have thought that beans could be so dangerous? Well, you are going to be even more shocked by what comes next. Number 14 is a household favorite that carries pretty deadly potential: tomatoes. Tomatoes are highly recommended as sources of vitamin C and a bunch of other nutrients. However, you may easily be ignoring a part of this amazing vegetable that could kill you, and it is the green stem. That interesting green stem protruding from your tomatoes possesses an extremely dangerous toxin known as solanine. At a certain level of consumption, this toxin could cause dizziness, impede respiration, and, of course, nausea. Once consumed in excess, solanine can be lethal. Tomatoes are great. Just make sure you get all the green out before you proceed to consume. Number 13 is a vegetable that can kill: rhubarb. This is the first food on our list with a couple of bodies in the bag, and its deadly nature has been connected to the heavy presence of oxalic acid in the vegetable, or fruit if you are in the United States. Everything from the leaves down to the stalk contains oxalic acid. Excess intake of oxalic acid can lead to hyperoxaluria. This condition brings about surplus oxalate released through urine and the pileup of calcium oxalate crystals. The risks here include uncontrolled vomiting and diarrhea. In worst cases, it could lead to the development of kidney stones and kidney failure, which could be fatal. I do have to mention that you may find that oxalic acid also exists in other vegetables like spinach, broccoli, etc. Nonetheless, these are not as high as rhubarb. The oxalic acid problems of rhubarb lie in excess consumption, so stay cautious. We have seen a vegetable and a legume that is dangerous. Up next is a berry that makes things so much worse. Number 12, elderberries. Inasmuch as most of the popular berries are eaten raw, elderberries should never be eaten uncooked or undercooked. Emphasis on the never. Like most of the other foods we have mentioned so far, under the right circumstance, elderberries are very healthy and good for you. However, if you decide to play the rebel and take them raw or even dried, your body will pay the price. Raw elderberry, its stem, leaves, and seeds on the inside are toxic to the human body. The toxin here is a glycoside that has been connected to the creation of cyanide in the body. Without saying too much, cyanide is bad for the body and can destabilize your system for hours and even days. There are countless stories of people who experienced almost fatal levels of nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea after consuming uncooked elderberries of some form. Thankfully, cooking these berries eliminates the toxin. Number 11 is a food that could kill even from a little consumption: castor oil or beans. Castor oil is most popular as a laxative that helps stimulate excretion when a person is experiencing constipation. However, its less popular feature is the deadly toxin that is heavily present in the plant that produces castor beans. This toxin is called ricin, and it could lead to extreme results. While it would take an overdose of castor oil to get to the point of poisoning, even the smallest dose of purified ricin in the bean itself could kill. Thankfully, the heat used to extract castor oil from the beans kills most of the ricin in castor oil. Nonetheless, it is in your best interest to keep your dosage as instructed by a physician. Let us move to something that you may be neglecting. Number 10, cherry pits. Cherries are great fruits, but the seed-like piece sitting at the heart of the fruit is one to be very careful with. Cyanide is one of the most popular poisonous substances in the world, and cherry pits can create it in your body. Granted, you do need to consume a lot of cherry pits for it to become poisonous enough to kill a person. The warning here is usually directed more at children, as they are not only less conscious of separating the seed from fruit, but also have a higher risk of cyanide poisoning and choking on cherry pits. Cyanide poison may be characterized by dizziness and difficulty breathing. At extreme levels, respiratory arrest could kick in and lead to death. Since we are here already, let us take a quick look at another food that could cause cyanide poisoning. Number 9. Almonds and cashew nuts. If you buy your almonds or cashew nuts roasted and ripe, then you should not have any issues following this purchase decision. However, if you decide to purchase green bitter almonds or cashews, or pluck straight from a tree to mouth, you are at risk of getting cyanide poisoning. We can confirm, however, that it will take eating a lot of these nuts to get to the point of poisoning. Still, if you are ever stuck in the woods and you find raw cashews or almond nuts that are green in color, those should not be an option for food. All right, let us talk about one that is bound to take you unawares. Number 8. Potatoes. Greens are traditionally highly recommended when it comes to food, but if you find them on a potato, do not hesitate to throw them out. We know that you have consistently read that potatoes are amongst the healthiest foods to eat, but not in all their forms. A green potato, or one with a green patch, is poisonous to the human body. This greenery signals that the potato contains solanine, a nerve toxin that could cause everything from vomiting to paralysis and death. Sounds crazy? Stick around for what we have in the top 5. You'll never believe it. Number 7. Brown rice. On a scale of 1 to healthy, brown rice is supposed to be a healthy food. In fact, it is believed to be even healthier than regular white rice. But there is a huge caution sign that comes with excessive consumption of brown rice. Brown rice may have traces of arsenic, and when consistently ingested over time, it could cause severe health issues. Arsenic usually occurs naturally in soil, air, and water. But in some cases, its presence is a result of the pesticides and fertilizers used to grow the rice. Excess arsenic has been connected to conditions like cancer and cardiovascular complications. Number 6 is used in a ton of different ways, but you may have missed out on its possible dark side, lychee. Whether they are appearing in drinks or desserts, lychees are both tasty and healthy. However, this only applies to their ripe, properly prepared versions. Any unripe lychee contains a highly toxic compound called hypoglycin A, among others. If you consume these without proper feeding, it could lead to fever, seizures, and even death. And now for the top 5, where things get even deadlier. Here is another sweet substance that is so deadly, you need to be particular about your consumption. Number 5, nutmeg. This spice could lead to organ failure, and unlike some of the other entries, this is not about its shape, color, or form. Nutmeg, in its already processed state, as used in all our favorite dishes, can be poisonous. The compound called myristicin is cytotoxic, such that it is capable of sending commands to the cells to self-destruct. Consuming as little as 2 teaspoons of nutmeg could lead to a long list of complications, including dizziness, hallucination, and irregular heart rate. Anything higher is enough to shut down the entire body. And before you go, you should know that there is no direct treatment for myristicin poisoning. Whatever treatment you get after poisoning will lean more towards managing the symptoms and shielding the airway. Raising the stakes even higher in number 4 is mushrooms. The danger with mushrooms comes to play if you are one of those that like to go foraging. It can certainly be quite fun to walk into the wild and pick up your mushrooms yourself. But as blissful as that sounds, it also poses the threat of picking up certain incredibly poisonous mushrooms. We have it so high up our list because the deadliest mushrooms also share some resemblance with some of the healthiest ones. Take a deathcap mushroom, for example. By merely hearing its name, you already know that this is not a digestion-friendly mushroom. However, it does look a lot like other edible mushrooms like the Caesar and straw mushrooms. Within hours of eating a death-cap mushroom, you could experience terrible abdominal discomfort and bloody stool, and after a while, your entire body will shut down. If you must go out to select your mushrooms yourself, be sure to brush up on your mushroom knowledge. Making its way to the top 3 with a pretty big reputation is shellfish. If there is any food that has made headlines for poisoning and killing people, shellfish gets a lot of press, although it may not be as popular as our number 2 pick, so watch out for that one. About 80,000 people get sick from eating shellfish, and about 100 of these die every year in the U.S. alone. For something that is supposed to be food, those are quite insane numbers. So what is the problem? This is a result of improper preparation. It takes a lot of skill and experience to properly cook shellfish. When undercooked or worse, eaten raw, shellfish contain a bunch of pathogens and toxins that could disrupt the body's function in a lot of ways and eventually cause death. Taking the deadly fish discourse to the next level is the world's most deadly delicacy. Number 2, pufferfish. Nearly everything about this fish is poisonous, and the most mind-blowing fact here is that the toxin that it carries is said to be thousands of times deadlier than cyanide. Like with shellfish, ill preparation is usually to blame for the toxins that exist in the meal even after cooking. Despite the requirement for chefs who prepare pufferfish to be specially trained and certified, the death toll of pufferfish continues to remain in the hundreds, year after year. The tetrodotoxin in pufferfish can destroy respiratory muscles and the nervous system. So what could be so much deadlier than this in number 1? Well, let's find out. Number 1 is an all-time, all-day American favorite, hamburgers. Hamburgers can kill you, and it is not just in the way of it not being a very healthy meal, but in an even more toxic fashion. The risk of burgers is tied to the purchase of cheap or poorly produced meat. This exposes you to the risk of consuming verotoxigenic E. coli, a form of E. coli that can cause kidney failure, coma, and even death. While higher temperatures during cooking may be helpful against this toxin, it is better to avoid the risk entirely. If you prefer to eat your hams rare, it is best to go for more premium meats. Which of these deadly 15 foods got you the most worried? Please share your thoughts and questions in the comment section below, and we'll be looking out for those. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more life-saving information like this. Speaking of which, check out the one on your screen right now if you want to stay even healthier.